We are in Parashat Tzav, and we're going to read from the Noam Elimelech. It's the one ma'amar before the end. The line starts, Lifnei Hashem. We're talking about Korban Olah, that is talking about in this parasha, about the sacrifice of Olah. And it says that it has to be eaten in front of Hashem. That's what it says, Lifnei Hashem. What is he basically trying to tell you? רוצה לומר, דע לפני מי חטאת. You always have to know in front of who did you sin. That's a very big part of the sin, knowing in front of who did you sin. Now, it's almost like saying you have stole something from so-and-so, and on the other hand can be you have stolen something from the head of the mafia. Stolen. So there's a big difference between stealing something from a regular individual and the head of the mafia, that now they're all going to be after you. So here you can lie to an individual, or you can insult somebody, but you also have to remember that you always sin in front of Hashem. When you know in front of who you're sinning, that should put things in the right perspective. So he says, Lifnei Hashem, רוצה לומר, in front of Hashem he wants to say, דע לפני מי חטאת, know in front of who did you sin, ועד היכן הפגם שלך הולך. You have to know how far your sin goes. Your sin is going, all the way up. You know, your sin goes, Lifnei Hashem lemala. The sin goes in front of Hashem, all the way up in the world above. Now it says, he's quoting now the verse in the parasha, so it says Lifnei Hashem, and then it continues, it says Kodesh HaKodeshim, that the sacrifice has to be done in front of Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies. What does it mean, Kodesh HaKodeshim? Hamadrega azot hi Kodesh HaKodeshim. This level where the sin goes up to is considered the Holy of the Holiest. Which means just that you know that every time that you make a sin, if you lie to me, I might never know, but Hashem knows. And if you steal from me, maybe I'll have a small loss, financial loss, but don't forget, the sin goes all the way up in front of Hashem into the level that is called Kodesh HaKodeshim. Then he continues the verse, and the verse says, V'hakohen HaMechateh. It's referring to the priest that will, so to say, purify you. Now the priest doesn't really purify you, but the fact that the priest accepts your offering and he sacrifices it on an altar, then he's considered the priest, HaMechateh, that's cleaning you, cleansing you, because he's doing the job for you. What does it mean, HaKohen HaMechateh? The priest that is cleansing you. Maybe we should close the window a little bit. I thought he maybe will go. I think like they're unloading something there. Thank you. What does he mean, הכהן המחטא? רוצה לומר, הצדיק אשר תמיד מחטא ומאשים עצמו תמיד. He's referring to a person that constantly will see his own fault and will work on it. And he calls that person a tzaddik, because the moment you realize where you are wrong and you start working on it, this is a much higher level than just doing the actual act and moving on like as if nothing happened. When you actually notice, wait a minute, I was wrong here, or I did something that is not appropriate, then and he says, Umashim atzmo tamid, and he blames himself. Here, you would ask now a person, why did you do this and that? Oh, he told me and she did and he did, and like Chava, why did you eat from the tree? No, not Chava, Adam HaRishon. Why did you eat from the tree? No, the woman that you gave me, she got me in trouble. Just admit, why are you blaming everybody? So, and we find that also with many people. You ask them in one of the members of the congregation, why were you late for minyan? No, don't ask. And my wife and my kid and my grandmother and my neighbor and the cat and don't ask. Just say, I'm sorry, I was late. I didn't wake up. So some people, they're trying to find all the ways how to blame it on the entire world just to take responsibility. So he says, the person who blames himself says, who am I kidding? I'm the wrong one here. He calls him a tzaddik because very few people know to say, you're right, I'm wrong. So nevertheless, when it says about the Kohen HaMachateh, the priest that will make you pure, that is referring to the person that is called
Machateh or Matahor?
No, Mechateh. No, but the word it can be explained as chitui, is something that is cleaning. Chet is a sin, but the word lechatot, chitui, is to clean, is to make something pure. In English, I think you would call it to sterilize. When you clean something. This is chitui in English, in Hebrew. And this is sounds the same like chet, but nevertheless, chitui is to sterilize, to clean something. Then it says, Yochelenu b'makom kadosh. Again, he's taking pieces of the verses and he's explaining them. So it says about the korban that it has to be eaten in a holy place. Yochelena b'makom kadosh. Perush, what does it mean? Achila, eating, lashon chet achla umachata piha. The word achila, which is eating, is coming from the root of chet ochla umachata piha, that the sin is the one that consumes, that eats something. דהיינו, meaning, בכל דבר קדושה שעושה, ייתן דעתו לחפש היטב מה שמחסר באותו מצווה. Basically saying, in other words, in everything that you do in kedusha, in holiness, you go and pray in a minyan, you put tefillin on, you put talit on, whatever it is, anything that you do in a mitzvah, or everything that has to do with kedusha, with holiness. We're, Baruch Hashem, we're involved in holy things all day long. But the person has to constantly put his mind to search real good what is he lacking in the mitzvah. ויחשוב לעצמו חטא גדול. And you have to think of it as a very big sin. So, for example, sometimes you come to the minyan, you came already to the minyan, but you came because everybody called you until you're the 10th one and you can't, and we can pray without you. You just came because you came. You didn't come because you want to. Or somebody asked you to help them financially, and you just gave something because you felt very uncomfortable saying no. Or whatever it is, you use your own imagination. But many times we do something holy, but something's missing there. We do it for an agenda, we do it because we don't have another option. He says the person constantly, when he does something good, and Baruch Hashem, we do a lot of good things, but you all constantly have to look and say, am I doing it really 100%, or am I missing something here? And I have to understand, I have to consider that if I'm missing something here, this is considered a big sin. Even though the Torah doesn't tell you that. But we want to work on ourselves, we want to refine ourselves. We're here only to refine ourselves, we're not here to impress somebody. If you are here to impress somebody, then you're here for the wrong reason. So our agenda, when I'm saying here, I'm not just saying here in this building, here in this world. We're here to refine our neshama and to elevate our soul. So if I see that I'm doing something good, the essence of it is good, the root is good, I'm doing a mitzvah, I'm doing an act of kindness, but it's not 100%, something's missing here, excitement, love, enthusiasm, care, then I have to look and say, well, what is missing here? And to consider that, oy va'avoy, what a mistake I did, this is going to be a big sin. Now he continues and he says, we just said that the sacrifice has to be eaten in front of Hashem, in Kodesh HaKodeshim. He says, B'chatzar oel moed te'achel. You know, the sacrifice had to be eaten in the garden, not the garden, like the courtyard of Oel Moed, because there was a tent, that was the oil, and around it was like kind of a courtyard, and then was the fence. So that the sacrifice had to be eaten in that courtyard. What does that mean? רוצה לומר, העולם הזה נקרא חצר. This world is considered the courtyard, if you're comparing this world and the world above. Look now at the structure of the Mishkan. So there was a tent, it's called Ohel Moed. Inside it was divided, because inside of it was also Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies. But around the tent was a courtyard, and then was a fence. He's comparing that the courtyard of Ohel Moed is corresponding to this world. והעולם העליון נקרא אוהל מועד, and the world above is called the tent. על דרך שאמרו חז"ל, based on what our sages have said, העולם הזה דומה לפרוזדור, בפני העולם הבא. This world is a corridor to go into the world to come. Our sages explained, look at this world like as a corridor before you're about to go into the lounge. Why? Because before you go into the lounge and you're about to meet the president and all the ministers and all the VIPs, you find yourself a mirror, clean yourself. Did I look normal, honey? Am I okay? Did I look okay? So this is this world. In Hebrew they say, hatken et atzmecha. Fix yourself. If you're going now into a big meeting, you don't just walk in. You stand in front of the mirror, you make sure nothing in the teeth, cleaning the beard, honey, how do I look? Same thing here. So this world is the corridor. Fix yourself, because you're about to go into the lounge and mingle in the party of the VIPs. This is what our sages say in the tractate of Avot in the Mishnah. So here he says the same thing. He says this world is the corridor to the world above, meaning this world is the courtyard before you go into the tent. At some point we will go into the holy tent. This is in the world above. So while you're in this world, this is the courtyard. Prepare yourself. And now when a person behaves like what we just said, and he calls him a tzaddik, he's going to make a big, here, I don't know if to translate it, making a big favor to the world, but he's going to cause a lot of positivity into the world. He's bring something good into the world. Because there are sins that I'm not allowed to do that it says in the Torah. There are mitzvot that I have to do that it says in the Torah. This is what's called the letter of the law. But there's also mitzvot that I'm not really obligated on doing. It's not really a mitzvah. That's called beyond the letter of the law. You can still do it, and you will get a huge reward and a sachar for that, but you don't really have to do it. One example out of many, we all wear tzitzit. Now I can guarantee to you, we all stand up, pull your shirt out, everybody's wearing tzitzit. You don't have to wear tzitzit. You only have to wear tzitzit if you're wearing a garment that has 4 corners, and then you are obligated in wearing tzitzit. But I don't have to wear the tzitzit. And there again, look at this. Thousands of men are wearing tzitzit. Why? I want to go beyond the letter of the law. I want to put on myself a holy garment. I want to be included in a mitzvah. I want to be close to Hashem. I want to walk in the street and do Kiddush Hashem that everybody will see, wow, look at that Jew, how he's lucky going with it, tzitzit. So this is one example out of many. But on the other hand, there's also sins that the Torah doesn't tell you clearly that it's a sin. But to do it is not considered a good thing. There's no clear sin in the Torah to be sad. There's no such a thing. And there's also no mitzvah in the Torah to be happy. This is the Rebbe from Kotsk said that he says there's no mitzvah in the Torah to be happy, and there's no clear prohibition, a sin, to be sad, but what happiness will do, not any other mitzvah will do, and the damage that sadness will do, not any other sin will do. So again, there's not a clear mitzvah in the Torah that I have to be happy, but you know what it is to be happy? How it changes the world, the environment, my soul. Same thing, sadness. I won't be held accountable, guilty. I'm going to come up to Shamayim, they'll tell me you were sad. But just by me being sad and heavy and depressed, I'm affecting the world. I'm bringing negativity into the world. So he says the person that will behave according to what we just said, that he looks in himself constantly to refine himself, elevate himself, constantly checking himself, he's bringing good, positive energy into the world. And there's pleasure and positivity is coming into the world because of him. This is what it means, that in the courtyard of Ohel Moed, the sacrifice should be eaten. Because when am I sacrificing my time and my life and my money and in this world? This is the world. When I'm going to come up to Shamayim, I'm not going to have the opportunity to give any sacrifices. So now we don't have a Bet HaMikdash. I don't bring goats. But Hashem says, I want you to sacrifice something from your life. Wake up at 5 in the morning. You don't have to wake up at 10. You can come and make our minyan. We should record this now and send it to members of the congregation. But this is a sacrifice. You wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I'm sure many men would want to be like this. Leave me alone. I'm going to come to the late o'clock minyan. There's one at 11. So you're always going to find a shul that will give you a minyan at 11. So, which is, that should be a prohibition. I mean, there sometimes should be certain prohibitions that should not allow things to happen. I lived in a community in America, and the mikveh was open till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I told once the mikveh owner, because of you, people pray late. Because they know the mikveh is open till late. Close the mikveh at 9, I guarantee to you, 90% will come early to the mikveh and they'll pray early. But they know, the mikveh is open till 1, so I can pray late. So he didn't listen, unfortunately. But the point is that my time is sacrifice. My money is sacrifice. My knowledge, my patience. Somebody will catch you on the street and tell you, excuse me, I want to ask you a question. And in your mind, you're like, now you're bothering me. I'm busy right now. Leave me alone. But you sacrifice your time for 5 minutes to answer this poor person's question. So I have to understand that only in this world I can offer sacrifices. And half of the things that I do every day is a sacrifice. I wait for somebody, I help, I give my time, my money, my effort. This is a sacrifice. And Hashem sees that. Don't think for 1 second Hashem doesn't see it. How many times you have pulled it from the street, come and complete a minyan. And you're like, something. I see the faces of the people. I'm like, I'm offering you now a $5 billion check. And you're telling me, like, well, what do you have to do? Where are you running? Why you can't be inside for 5 minutes? And sometimes people say, of course, you need me for a minyan, I'm coming in. I'll wait for the 10-15 minutes. While you can pray in a minyan. People don't understand that right now they just wrote a check, a $5 billion check for their 10 minutes of effort. So nevertheless, he says the reason why the korban, the sacrifice, was commanded to be eaten in the courtyard, because this world is a courtyard. That's where you offer the sacrifice. Then the verse continues, and it says, Kol asher yiga bi v'sara yikdash, anything that will touch the meat, the flesh of the korban, of the sacrifice, will become holy. Rotze lomar, what is he trying to say? Im yavo lo eze machshava, hanogea לבשר, דהיינו לתאוותו, if a thought will come to you, and that thought will touch the meat. The meat is hinting to our te'avot, our forbidden desires. And constantly we have forbidden desires. Some things are, not so harsh, but sometimes, a man will walk in the street, see an attractive woman, and right away, thought starts moving in his mind. And that's usually the case, and it's forbidden. You can't look at another woman and think of her, and then you're already in your mind, you're already in some resort in Mexico, and in your mind you already have kids with her. So this is called hirhur avera, thinking of a thought. This is prohibited. Why? Because the thought causes your heart to desire, and you chas v'shalom can get to a sin. And this is just one example out of many. It can be many things. Sometimes, I'm just giving a common example because that's something that happens on a daily basis to many people. He says, whenever a thought comes into your mind, and in the metaphorical part that how he's explaining it, it says it touches the meat. The thought touches, a thought is something very spiritual, something that is not tangible, but it's touching flesh. The flesh is corresponding to my te'ava, for my desire, desire that is forbidden. Because technically, we are not carnivores, and we're not supposed to eat meat. But then again, walk next to a shawarma place, next to this shawarma of Rafi's shawarma, start drooling. You don't even know what's cooking there on the skewer, but everybody who passes through that is like, I see people some people know. Yeah, yeah. Well, I know. Well, there are some normal people, but I'm saying most people, most people, they smell that and they're like, exactly, yeah. They go into the shawarma. So, but really, we're not carnivores. We're not supposed to be consuming meat. But nevertheless, everybody, minus a few normal people, they have a te'ava for meat, a desire. I can't say a lust. You can't lust meat, but there's a strong desire for meat. And that's most of the world. Puts a little bit of spices and let it sizzle a little bit, and everybody's... So, but where is this te'ava coming from? Coming from a place that is forbidden. There is a story that one was once, I think it was talking about Menachem Mendel from Chernobyl, was a very big tzaddik from Chernobyl, that he was once in a gathering or whatever. I think it was on a Shabbat, but nevertheless, somebody put a big pot of chunt, and he came and he threw the whole pot upside down. And they came to him, what are you doing? You know what it is? You're throwing the whole pot of the meat. I mean, it's our fruit right now. And everybody got so upset. Why is he throwing the whole pot? And he told them, well, the pot is not kosher. Everything in the pot was not kosher. So they're like, whoa, we didn't know you have such a high level of Ruach HaKodesh that you know that the food is not kosher. Why? And they went and asked, and they looked, and they checked, and they found Bemet that the shchita, the slaughtering, was not done right. When they told him, how do you know? What, you have Ruach HaKodesh? He says, I don't have Ruach HaKodesh. It's just that when I smelled the meat, I had a very strong desire to eat it. And I understood that if I have a strong desire to eat it, must be that there's something forbidden in there. Because I don't desire to eat meat. I don't have any lust. Or I desire to eat meat. I don't like eating meat. But because I wanted it so much, I had such a yetzirah to eat it, I understood there must be something not kosher in there. It has to be impure. Because when you have a desire for something so strong, has to be something impure there. So, same thing here. He says, what is this, the hint that if something will touch the flesh, will become holy, yikdash? He says, when a thought comes into your head, and the thought touches the flesh, your desire, yikdash, רוצה לומר, what does it mean? Okay, I understood the thought touches my flesh, but what does it mean yikdash? How is it making me holy? יראה להביא הדבר ההיא אל הקדושה. Take that thought and right away transform it or distort it or move it to something holy. And if you see a thought coming into your mind and you right away make an analogy and you're saying this thought is not a kosher thought, this is not a good thought, right away push it into something holy. If the thought itself cannot be directed to something holy, then right away think of something holy. That's what I used to do when I became observant. I used to develop all these tricks, how to distract myself from things. So when I would get a bad thought, I would right away start saying verses of Tehillim. I used to memorize a lot of Tehillim off by heart, and I had a dream that I will know the entire Tehillim off by heart. That was one of my goals. I didn't reach it yet, but B'ezrat Hashem, maybe one day. Oh, we don't have luck with the camera today. See, that's like disturbing. So I had a dream to know all the book of Tehillim off by heart. Because I was very inspired once when I read a story that there was a water carrier that used to recite twice a day the entire book of Tehillim. So it would go up and down from the village to the river and up and down and up and down. And he would recite the entire book of Tehillim twice, every day. And one time there was a decree against a certain city. The Baal Shem Tov noticed it. The Baal Shem Tov used to, in a regular way, visit chambers in the heavens, and he thought that there's a decree against the whole city. And he was praying and trying to pull strings, and nothing helped. And at some point, he figured out that the only thing that will remove the decree from the entire city, he noticed that there's a certain chamber in Shamayim that is full of light. And when he walked in to this unbelievable, beautiful chamber full of light, he was like, what's going on here? He says, this chamber of light, all this powerful light you're seeing is from one Jew, a water carrier that's reading Tehillim every day. And he understood that this light, this merit, can remove the decree from destroying the entire city. He went and tracked down the water carrier, and he told him, listen, there's a decree against the whole city of Jews, and they're all going to die, and you can save them. Me? How can I save them? I'm a simple water carrier. He says, well, you recite every day twice the whole book of Tehillim, and your zchut, your merit is so huge, you can save the entire city. Are you willing to do that? He's like, of course. And needless to say, that they used the zchut of that simple water carrier to save an entire city. So when I read this story, I was like, oh, you know what? I want to know the whole book of Tehillim. And whenever I'm, wherever I am, I can right away start saying. So Baruch Hashem, so I would learn a lot of Tehillim. I would make little notes, and every time I would walk, I would memorize 2-3 verses, and I had the notes just to pull it out, to see how I'm doing, to test myself. So, for a very long time, constantly I would walk in the street and pull out these notes and memorize verses of Tehillim. So every time a thought will come into my mind, and right away I would start saying one of the chapters, but I would say one of the chapters that I don't know so well. Because the ones that you know well, you're saying it without any problem. Because you know it well. Now when you have to say something you don't know that well, you have to concentrate on if you're saying it right. Then your mind gets completely distracted from the bad thought to something holy. And your mind is being used for something holy right now. That's what he's saying. When a bad thought is coming to your mind, and it says, the metaphoric explanation says that the thought is touching the flesh, ikdash, make yourself holy. Doesn't mean that the thought is going to become holy. Rather, make yourself holy. Move that thought, and right away think of something else. Something that is holy, something b'kedusha. If you would reach to a point that you know how to control your thoughts, and that your thoughts are constantly holy, you will never sin. Because what causes us to sin is our bad thoughts. And if you would monitor your thoughts all day long, you would see that most of the day you are involved in something that is not so holy. Even though you can be now praying, you can be learning Torah, but the majority of the time our thoughts are taking us to Wonderland. And when a person knows how to purify these thoughts and to constantly think good, then the person is constantly surrounded with holiness. Now he continues and he says, "Va'asher yizem midama al beged." It says that the Kohen, the priest, had to take the blood of the sacrifice and sprinkle it on the garment. What is he trying to say here? רוצה לומר, אם יהיה נתפס בדבר קל, if you catch yourself doing something that is not so severe, like a sin that is not so severe, but you still catch yourself. דהיינו בדבר חומריות וגשמיות הקל. Something that is not so severe, I'll just give you one example out of many. There's not a sin to eat. You're allowed to eat. There's not a sin to eat. But there's no requirement for you to eat every 2 minutes. And definitely not things that there's no nutrition in it, that they're full of sugar, and you're just doing it for, I'm sorry, that's the example that came now. But we find ourselves constantly feeding our te'ava with cookies, with whatever it is, all sorts of other junk that everybody's eating all day long. And it's not a prohibition, it's not a sin, but I'm not controlling myself right now. And I'm not practicing saying to myself, no. And I'm letting my te'ava, something that is forbidden, a desire, to be fed. Now, it's not forbidden to eat, but when I give in to my yetzer over and over and over, then I'm giving him power. And then he wins 10, 20, 40 times with something small that is permitted. When it comes to a sin, he already has an overpower on me. He knows how to manipulate me, to quieten me down right away. So I need to know how to control that. That's what it says. If I catch myself doing something simple, something that is kal, something light, bedavar chomriyut v'gashmiyut, something that has to do with physicality or something that has to do with a physical thing, lazer romez milat yazeh. That's what he's hinting in the word yazeh. Yazeh means to sprinkle. What is he saying? Techabes b'makom kadosh, it says that you have to, later on, after they sprinkled the blood on the clothes, they had to clean the clothes in a holy place. רוצה לומר?
The priest, the Kohen's clothes?
Yeah, they had to sprinkle the blood on the clothes. Yeah. And it says he has to wash the clothes in a holy place, saying, in other words, יכבס הדבר בדברי קדושות ותפילות. Clean it. Take that thing that it got a little bit dirty and clean it with something holy. Which means that if you're already jumping on the cookie, make sure that you're saying the bracha with all your intentions. Borei minei mezonot, have the right intention. Make sure that you're saying the after bracha. Most people forget to say the after bracha. They remember to say Shakol niya bidvaro, borei minei mezonot, but they don't concentrate on saying the after bracha. Basically taking something that is, I'm just giving an example with the food, but you have to be focused on what's going on. And when you sing, you're doing something that is light. It's not even considered even close to a sin. But clean it with something holy. Bring it.
You're not alcohol, but if you abuse it,
Yeah.
it's a whole shit.
100%. So everything you can, if you notice that you're doing it, just do it for something holy. Wrap it around with something that is holy. He says, "Bedivrei kdushot v'tfilot," something that is holy and something that is with prayer. Now it says, "Uchli cheres asher tevashel bo tishaber." Any type of a vessel that is made out of cheres is like clay, and if you would cook in it, that it has to be broken. You know, cheres, you can't kosher it. Now we're looking now before Pesach, we're trying to get everything ready. Cheres, I think, cheres is clay, but there is not earth, ceramic. Ceramic, you can't kosher it. It has to be broken if it gets unkosher. הדרך שאמרו חז"ל, תלמיד חכם דומה לפני עם הארץ. Our sages have said that a Talmid Chacham, a sage, is, if you want to compare it to a simple person, an Am Haaretz, a person that is not educated, דיבר עמו דומה בעיניו כקיתון של כסף, אכל עמו דומה לכקיתון של חרס הנשבר שאין לו תקנה. Saying that the kli cheres, the ceramics, if you will cook in it something that is not kosher, has to be broken. Basically saying, in other words, when you do something that is impure, that makes you impure, there's no way to fix it. You have to break it. Sometimes people are trying to correct a certain act and they don't understand you will never correct the act. You can't correct the act. You can't make the act holy. It has to be broken. You have to breaking meaning getting out of your system.
Would that be like if somebody is an alcoholic and they can't really even drink socially because they know that, so they have to break it by not having any alcohol at all?
That's one example. I was thinking more of an example. I know of an individual that he likes non-Jewish women. Likes, in love. I don't know what the status it is, but they're dating. And he knows he can't marry her. And he asked me over and over, what can I do? Can I marry her? I told her, well, the only way you can marry her if she converts. And she tells me, but she doesn't want to convert. So I said, so you can't marry her. You can't even be with her. And he's trying in all sorts of ways how to somehow make it possible that he can marry her. So I told him, listen, it cannot be done. This is what I mean. It has to be, break it. You can't fix it. I know you're in love with her. I know you have feelings towards her. But if she's not Jewish, you'll never be able to marry her. When you're trying to eat the cake and keep it whole, you can't. So I understand that it's hard for him to let go. But so he's trying to, in all sorts of ways, how he can somehow be with her. So I told her, listen, unless she converts, you can't marry her. You can't be with her. And so he's like, okay, I'll convince her to convert. I said, you don't want to convince her to convert because she needs to convert for wanting to convert. Not because you want her to marry you. So this is one example. That's what comes up to my mind when something is wrong, you can't fix it. It has to be broken. Broken means break away from it. The example you gave with the alcohol, this is already more of not necessarily in something that has to do with purity and impurity, even though it does affect the person. But nevertheless, of course it's a good example when somebody can't control his drinking, then he shouldn't even drink even a little lechaim or kiddush. There's no question here. But basically saying, in other words, you have to recognize sometimes in yourself when you become stubborn to try to make something work. It's not going to work. The Torah doesn't allow you. And I can probably give a few other examples, but the point is that we have to also recognize in ourselves that sometimes things don't work. And they will never work. And you have to break it, break the habit. And usually it will be with habits. That's why the example with alcohol is good, but there are all sorts of habits that won't be parallel to the Torah and they won't work. So basically saying, in other words, that we have to take what the Torah is telling to us and see the more hidden meaning behind it, that the Torah is trying to also teach me how I have to elevate myself and to become holy. I mean, that's the whole point behind the sacrifices. The sacrifices are not necessarily the act of slaughtering the animal. The sacrifice is about refining myself. When you want to refine something or to sterilize something, it's done with fire. Go now to a doctor, a hospital, but before he gives you an injection, I mean, that's what they used to do, at least in the olden days. They would burn the needle to sterilize it. And we know that to clean something, it has to be burnt. So the fire that's on the altar, metaphorically, this is the fire that you have to clean yourself. It's a holy fire. You don't want to put something that is unholy on your altar. And the altar is my system, is my mechanism that allows me to purify things. And that's what I want to be busy with. That's what a lot of people, they get the whole Torah a little bit wrong. People think that all day long I have to be running around in the street with a black suit and pray 3 times a day and like a machine. Yeah, that's not what the Torah is. The Torah is here to give you a tool to refine yourself. If you're wearing the black suit and the black yarmulke and you follow the rules like a robot, but you're not working on yourself, and you're not cleaning yourself, you're not purifying yourself, and you're staying in the same level, so what good is the suit? What good is all your Torah? Hashem is not looking for, it's not a fashion show that he tells you, I want everybody with black suits. Giving the same example that I always give. It took me years before my outside looked like this. And the last yeshiva that I went to, I refused to wear clothes. I was like, I'm going to wear whatever I want. My tshuva has nothing to do with clothes. My tshuva is inside. And when I'm going to stop lying and cheating and being judgmental and all these things inside that are not pure, then I don't want to be on the outside, fool myself and fool other people. The inside has to be real. And this is the idea of the sacrifice and the altar, is clean yourself, purify yourself. If you find that all day long you have impure thoughts, something's wrong here. And doesn't matter how you dressed on the outside. That's why I don't like putting so much emphasis on the outside, because the outside fools you, makes you think that you are in a much better place. And my entire agenda is that the inside is clean. If I learn 6 hours Torah, and I do all the mitzvot in the book, but I'm judging you all day long wrong, and I'm talking bad about you, and I'm cheating you and lying to you, well, what's my Torah worth? Torah is worthless. It's exactly what we talked about on Shabbat, when I said that there are many places in prophets that the prophets are against the sacrifices. Which brings a big question. What, the prophets go against the Torah? The prophet says, we're not going against the Torah, but if you're going to bring me a sacrifice, but before the sacrifice you lie and you cheat and you take advantage of people and you put people down and you slander and lashon hara, I don't want your sacrifice. I don't need that. I need you to be a mensch. First, be a mensch, be true and honest and courteous and polite and pure, then bring me a sacrifice. Same with us. We have to really work on ourselves. And the only way to do it is exactly like he said, HaTzadik, asher tamid machateo mashim et atzmo. The person that reached to that level of tzaddik that constantly looks at himself. It's very easy to look at everybody and say, he's wrong, she's wrong, she's wrong. That's very easy. I constantly have to look at myself and say, okay, there's a disagreement between me and that person right now. Maybe I'm at fault. That person told me something, maybe I'm at fault. We usually look at the other person and says where that person is at fault. And needless to say, what I want to take from that is my service, my avodat hakorbanot, my service of sacrifices is constantly to look at myself and to see how am I becoming better. How can I become a better husband? How can I become a better father? How can I become a better friend? How can I become a better Jew? How can I become a better person in the world? Because that's why I came here. And this world is the courtyard. This is where I do everything before I go into Oel Moed. This is not the time to go. People are trying in this life to become the Arizal. You're not going to become the Arizal. You're never going to be the Arizal. And people are trying sometimes, I need to be very, very holy. Holy is be clean inside. Don't worry, there'll be a time where you will be allowed to enter the Holy of Holies. But only if you sacrifice yourself in this world, which is the courtyard of the tabernacle. So our service of Hashem, of course, I'm not chas v'shalom saying don't do mitzvot and don't show up to the shul and don't do all these good things, but it has to constantly, like he said before, you have to look if you're missing something in it. If I'm doing the mitzvah and I'm missing something in it, then something's wrong here. And I have to pay attention and to refine that. So everything that I do, it's not the quantity, one is the quality. Rather you will learn 1 hour Torah a day instead of 6, but that 1 hour Torah is with the right intention, with the right thoughts, with the right excitement. And everything that you do, you have to pay attention. We don't have much time during the day. What do we have in a day? It's 18, 19 hours that you're functioning. I like paying attention to every little thing. I know it might be time consuming, but if I'm already drinking a cup of tea and I'm saying Shakol Niyah B'dvaro, don't say Shalom B'dvaro. Take another 4 seconds to think of what's about to happen and say the bracha the right way. And if you catch yourself doing things very empty, so to say, then you have to say, wait a minute, I'm missing something here. Because I don't want to come up to Shamayim after 120 years and they told me, you did great, but only 50%. And when you said the brachot, you didn't have the intention. And when you went to learn Torah, you weren't really listening. And when you did the mitzvah, you did because you felt uncomfortable or you wanted to gain something out of it. So I did it, but not, how they say in this world, without meat. There's no meat there. So, but that's just an expression in this world. Nevertheless, we should be holy. We should be constantly putting our time and our money and our effort as a sacrifice, and to know that Hashem is looking. And mainly what I need to know is exactly what it says here, is that the person that does that, he brings joy to the world, brings goodness to the world, kindness, good energy. I want to be, one of the people who are involved in bringing good to the world. Not because I want to have a title and people say, look at this guy, he's doing good. No, because the world needs to get a lot of kindness and to have good energy, and there's enough suffering and enough bad in this world, and we want to pure the world and we want to be kedoshim. Zad Hashem should reach to the point that we're already sacrificing real sacrifices in Bet HaMikdash, and that will be done only when we know how to sacrifice from ourselves.